So secure development with Azure Kubernetes service. Let's go into this one in a bit more detail. So, we'll go into the data flows of this one like we did with the other one, but ultimately what this is allowing you to do, this is part of, like the last one was, the reference architecture that we utilize. And, we're not looking at, doing things unique for each customer, where we could align your practices with patterns, best practice patterns from Microsoft and Cloud Direct. Then we're going to try and do that, because we've got lots of experience with doing this, and they're done for a reason. But this one here, the secure DevOps with Kubernetes service, is allowing the developers to rapidly iterate and test and debug applications within the same clusters. We talked about earlier having different slots within an environment to be able to test. The same can apply for AKS, but doing that in a secure manner as well. We've all been taught you can't develop on production, or we shouldn't develop anywhere near that. But technology and utilization of DevOps tooling can allow us to do things in a different manner as well. Looking at how we can merge code into GitHub. We're using GitHub as the source control in this instance, which will automate the builds via the pipelines into that Kubernetes environment there. Looking at the release pipeline to automatically execute the deployment strategy, and utilizing app metrics that are obtained via Azure Monitor. So making sure we're getting the health of the environment, the telemetry, and the logs from the service. So if we start at the inner loop at the top, so hopefully the inner loop development function is something that you're aware of. Hopefully, it all come from some sort of development background, so it shouldn't be a new concept. Microsoft have not invented this, so it's like a lot of this is an implementation of old practices that Microsoft have taken a stance upon. So this will allow us to develop rapidly and iteratively the different parts of the application together in the Kubernetes cluster, until we're in a position to push the code and merge the code into the GitHub repository. After which, automated builds. So keyword is there, the automation. We're not manually doing things. We're not waiting for certain things to happen. We generated that automation from a merge of code to build and test the environments via the Azure pipelines. We're going to release pipelines that are there in number 3. So if you see down at the bottom there that we're using the CI/CD pipelines from DevOps there. These release pipelines automatically execute predefined deployment strategies with each code change. So we've set the guide rails up. We understand what's going to happen. We've predefined the actions depending on what's happening within our environment, and that allows us to take control and apply some governance throughout the environment as well. So we're into position number 4, where the Kubernetes clusters are provisioned. In this example, we're using a Helm chart. There's other tools that you can use there. So we're just showing the non-Azure aspects to this. It's something that could reside out of the native DevOps toolings and Azure toolings, but that's going to allow us to define the desired state of the application and the configuration. We're putting up the instruction manual from Helm. Till we get to number 5, which, as you guessed it, it should be quite straightforward. We're going to push the image from we're going to push the container into the registry at that point, till we get to number 6, which is down on the bottom right, hard to find on this one. The cluster operators now, which have we've predefined the policies in Azure policy to govern the deployment of the cluster. So we're making sure that it's not just done as and when, that there is some policy, there's some governance framework that sits behind this to ensure we're doing this in a controlled and thought out manner as well. Number 7, the policy itself will audit the request from the pipeline to make sure we know what's going on. We know where Helm is being pulled. We know where new containers are being pushed into the registry as well. We want to know when they've got certain signatures on them. they've got certain naming conventions. We want to know where they've came from, because we want to make sure we trust them. And it's about developing that secure framework with Azure policy predominantly. So move on to number 8, which is some of the telemetry as well. So making sure that the app telemetry is gathering health. It's all in the background. It's doing what Azure Monitor does best. It's gathering the telemetry, container health, looking at real-time analytics to make sure we have a better understanding of what's happening within that AKS production cluster. Until we're all about that feedback loop. So making sure that that data, I've released a new container, it's got a new image, it's got new functions, it's doing something else, it's enhancing a service. What does that mean for the overall health of my cluster? Okay, it's increased it, or actually something didn't quite go as planned, or it's unlocked some other errors, playing whack-a-mole with development. So having that feedback loop to go back into that inner loop, so we can then start doing the testing, debug, until we're in a position to start going back round again. The life of a developer, it never ends. So going back through to the source code control, commit that, let DevOps control the push into the registry, update the Helm chart, get policy, make sure that it's understanding, deploy that back out to the cluster, and feed that back round again. And like I said, the day never stops, the work never stops. There's always something that needs patching, there's always something that needs developing, there's always something that needs enhancements and feature requests. So the life of a developer doesn't end at number 9, it just continues some more. So that's the last example I've got for the reference architectures there, with using policy, using Azure Monitor to make sure that we enforce some secure components to the DevOps release, with AKS at the heart of it. Any questions? Otherwise